Welcome back. Remember the House of Reps, they've talked about the emergency stimulus bill. Now they're talking about the second one. And in that second one, there's a proposal wherein they want Nigerians to enjoy 2-month free electricity supply. Is that a mirage? Can it happen? Will it happen? Well, we've got Mr. Sunday Odunton. He joins us today via Skype. He's a spokesperson of Discos this morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Well, there was a statement credited to you in the dailies where you were reported to have said you or the Discos are lying with the decision. What does this mean that you're lying with it?
Well, thank you very much. What we said and what we are saying is that we are not insensitive to the current situation in the country and that we align ourselves with any plan by the federal government to be funded by the federal government and, of course, initiated by the National Assembly and the Federal Executive. That's exactly what we meant, and that's what we're saying.
But when you say you align with this, people expect you to, okay, let's get down to work. But now you say funded by the federal government. So that means if the federal government don't fund it, there's no basis of your alignment.
Well, what you need to understand is that there's a value chain in the electricity supply industry in Nigeria. And if you recognize that fact, you understand that Discos alone cannot give electricity. We are distributors. In fact, we are selling somebody else's product. So for there to be any proper arrangement, all other stakeholders, right from the gas suppliers down to the generation company, transmission company, the Discos, and in fact, most importantly, our regulators, everybody, even CBN, must be on board. And we know that discussions are ongoing. And as far as we are concerned, we feel that on our part, any good thing that will help Nigerians, anything that will give Nigerians that needed mitigation, considering what's going on now, we support that. And that's exactly what we're saying. And we stand by that, and we're still saying that whatever it is, we must all commend the federal government. We must commend the National Assembly, because we should understand that the situation that we find ourselves in worldwide is not a normal situation. It's not an easy situation. It's not something that just requires somebody just pressing the button and saying, go ahead and do this. So we are waiting directives, and if that happens, you can be sure that we'll do our best. But in the meantime, every single Disco in this country has begun a lot of palliative measures, including, of course, not disconnecting good customers all over the country. Then every Disco,
palliative measure. Mr. Dutton, yes. If you don't disconnect customers, good customers means those who are paid. How is that the palliative measure?
What I'm saying is that, for instance, the Ibadan Distribution Company has given relief package worth of 100 million naira to the state government, ditto for other states. Same thing with the Keja Disco, same thing with the Eko Disco. Yeah, Kano has done it, Kaduna, Benin is doing it now. Same thing with Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Enugu. So what I'm saying is that jointly, even just jointly, what we're doing is to also give support to various state government and the federal government in terms of donating relief package to Nigerians. That's what I mean by that.
Have we been able to, have you had any conversation, has the conversation started about this program, this thing that you have, that your body has aligned with? Has any conversation started with any government agency, any arm of government?
What you need to remember, and I said that earlier on, is that the initiative came from the National Assembly leadership, and you will recall that even yesterday, the National Assembly leadership met with Mr. President, and every discussion is centered on stimulus package. So the issue of the power sector is even just one of the many things. And I think on that, we have to commend the federal government on that note. So whatever we all can do as Nigerians or corporate bodies.
Again, one moment, Mr. Odunton. Has your association or members of your body been contacted about this proposition?
We are aware of ongoing discussion, and we cannot talk about anything that has not been concluded. approved or finally agreed upon. That's my response.
All right. So I'd like to take you back to the point where you talked about, some discos saying they're not going to disconnect customers during this period as some form of palliative. Is that something that is really happening? And I wonder, for those that are on prepaid meter also, is there a plan for them?
Well, I can tell you for a fact that if and when such stimulus is approved and agreed by the federal government, who of course are going to pick up the bill, anything to do with the different types of customers that we have, I can assure you that there will not be any discrimination. Such things are easy to plan. That is not so much of a problem. The issue, number one, has to do with Naira and Kobo. Remember, the gas suppliers has to be paid and a lot of other stakeholders. So when it comes to the details, that is not so much of a problem. The main issue is, first of all, for us to know exactly what the federal government wants us to do.
Right. So when you say that the federal government will have to pay, do you mean across all value chains, or for the discos you're saying, well, we're ready to make some form of concession, okay? If the federal government is ready, so maybe federal government can put in 50, we'll put in the remaining 50, or you're saying everything has to be, sorted by the federal government?
I've just told you that as distributor, I sell somebody else's product. The Yoruba call it Oja Oloja Lanta. In other words, when you are selling somebody else's product, then you have to give consideration to the fact that the person who owns the product has to be paid. And what we are saying is that, of course, when we're talking about payment, we're talking about payment across the value chain, from top to bottom. In fact, very important from the top, because you cannot do anything in this sector without giving consideration to gas suppliers.
So let's take a look at this. If we're saying 2 months, how much will it cost, to generate and, across all the value chains? How much will it cost to give Nigerians free electricity for 2 months?
I think it will not be less than 120 billion naira for 2 months. It will be less than that.
And do you think that's
minimum? Yes.
Do you think that's something the government can afford at this time?
Well, that's a question for the government, perhaps a question for the Minister for Finance. I don't think that we need to commend the federal government for the effort they are making. Also, see how best every Nigerian doing one form of palliative or the other.
Okay, just a moment. We lost a major part of what you said, so we'll try to reconnect with you just to hear what you really said, so we don't miss out on anything as to how much it will cost, to give Nigerians free electricity for 2 months.
Yeah, but part of what I've heard him say is that they're trying to give palliatives to customers by not disconnecting good customers.
I think good customers is referring to all the customers, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
But let's join Mr. Odunto again. And let me just get your response again. We lost some things you said about how much it will cost the government, if you think the government can afford this, and what the discos are bringing to the table. Please go ahead.
Well, in terms of the cost of supplying electricity for 2 months, I think the cost will not be less than 120 billion naira. And your question as to whether or not the federal government can afford it, I think those who initiated it, which is people in government who actually came up with the initiative, they know better than I do. They know best and they know better than us. And all we should all do is to give them support. If and when they are ready, all of us should be in support of anything that can make Nigerians happy. That's what I'm saying.
Of this 120 billion naira that you have just, off the top of your head given as a figure, what kind of concession would the discos be willing to make for their good customers?
I don't understand what you mean by concession. Having a similar
you just said that it will cost the federal government 120 billion naira, and you also spoke about palliatives that your members are already giving to people as part of their own contribution to these palliatives of the federal government and as a private sector practitioner. What kind of concessions would they be willing to make out of all of this figure that you have given, just so that at least it's kind of a CSR on the part of your members?
Well, I've just given you an example of Ibadan Disco that has donated relief material worth over 100 million so far. And they are doing it in every other state that they cover, apart from Ogun State that I witnessed personally. And of course, Eko, Ikeja, and all the other discos actually, Benin, Kano, Kaduna, Jos, and of course Abuja. Those are concessions. Those are things that we're trying to do on our own part to show how responsible we are as an industry. And when I spoke about not disconnecting customers, good customers, we take our customers, all our customers to be good customers. I'm not saying certain people will be disconnected at this critical time. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that as much as possible, we try to make life easier for our customers. And even you should be able to attest at this moment, this morning, that the supply has improved. That is not to say that everybody has got 24/7 electricity. What I'm saying is that as much as possible, go and see what we are doing in Magodo, for instance. In Magodo,
that part,
yes.
Mr. Dutton, we don't understand that part when you say you should be able to attest. What does that mean?
What I'm saying is that wherever you live, you should be able to attest to the fact that in the last 3 weeks, there has been a general improvement in supply of electricity in Nigeria. And on that one, we have to give kudos to the generation companies, the TCN, and of course the DISCOs.
I don't think you want to hear the tale of the current supply situation in some of these areas, but I guess you can't exactly extrapolate and say that's what's happening all over. So I think it's up to the people themselves who are receiving this electricity supply to tell Nigerians or tell you what their feedback is. So I think that would be most important moving forward.
Well, thing would like to add is, because this is big deal. This is big deal for a lot of Nigerians, and I'm sure they are staying glued to their TVs just to get a sense of the way forward. All right. So if this deal is agreed upon, whatever modality they choose to go about it, from the federal government and the distribution companies and other players in the value chain, will that mean like 24-hour electricity, or just the same thing we have at this point, but just for 2 months and we're not paying for it?
Well, first you need to understand that you cannot manufacture electricity from heaven. You can only give what you have. You cannot just roll out like 30,000 megawatts overnight, which will be enough for everybody 24/7 in that 2-month period when it's agreed. What we are saying is that, of course, we'll be able to give the maximum that is available. That maximum that is available may or may not be more than what you currently have. Remember the issue of gas? If we have all the raw materials, generation companies are not only ready and willing, but they're also able to do more than what they are currently doing if every other thing becomes equal. And of
What's
course,
the point you were? So as we wind down now, what was the point you were going to make about Magodo?
Oh no, I was just trying to give you an example of what we've been able to do in Magodo. What happened in Magodo, because you need to link that up again with the issue of the tariff shortfall that we have in the country. The issue of electricity has to take care of the issue of cost of production. And whenever you are able to match up the cost of production, then the issue of the quantum will go up. So I'm saying that Nigeria should not lose sight of the non-cost reflectiveness of the electricity tariff in Nigeria, even post this pandemic. So I'm saying, whatever it is, an example of what we are doing in Magodo and some other locations in the country now, where we have a system of willing buyers and willing sellers, where people are willing to pay a bit more than what they are paying, and they're able to get a lot more electricity, more than what they used to get. That's what I'm saying.
Well, because there are so many willing buyers who want to pay for the electricity supply, but they don't have it. Many of them are still getting, they still have this, they still get estimated bills, and they keep complaining that why can't they be metered? So that's a huge one. So that arrangement you have with Magodo, many wonder why can't it be replicated in all the other areas, those who want to pay?
Don't worry. I think all of us should just be patient. Again, a lot of these things, I believe that the regulator too, they are very willing to ensure that there's an improvement in the sector. And for us as Nigerians, and all of us were Nigerians anyway, remember that if I have light in my neighborhood, all others will have light. If there's no light in my neighborhood, I will not have light. So it is in our interest for everybody to be metered. It is also in our interest for everybody to have light. What we are saying is that the experiment at Magodo and some other location can be replicated all over the country the moment we all get it right in terms of what should be the appropriate price of the product. And I'm not talking about this period, I'm talking about post.
Magodo had to pay special price. So they pay special price to ensure that this is sorted. All right, Mr. Sunday Odutan, thank you very much indeed for talking to us this morning. So we will be back and continue with this stimulus package, the economy. What do we do post-COVID-19? Join us again.